Okay, here we are with School Board Director Peter Blewett, who has been an outstanding advocate for education for the children of Milwaukee Public Schools. He's in his second term now, as a third term now. It's been that long? And he's been very supportive of the community and a lot of different efforts we've had. He's been an outstanding representation of what a school board director should be. Not that I agree with all of them, but this one here, 90% of the time, I support his causes. So I just want you to share with us your take on this whole takeover and what it means to our community from your perspective.
Well, in the first place, I think I would say about the takeover bill that it's really a distraction from the challenges that face Milwaukee Public Schools. And I want the board to do better. I mean, I have always had high expectations for this board. And I've always thought we have room to be a stronger body, but we're getting there. And I think the election of Michael Bonds as the president has been a step in the right direction. We are holding the line on spending. We've been redirecting administrative costs back into the classroom. We got a long way to go, no doubt about it, but we are moving in the right direction. The real problem, though, has to do with the state funding of education. I mean, to me, there's something wrong about a system that would let a school district in Milwaukee County, the Mapledale Indian Hill School District, if they had a school of 400, they would, if Milwaukee had a school of 400, everything else being equal, the school in Mapledale Indian Hill would begin the year with $2,300,017 more than the school in Milwaukee.
Can you repeat that for us again so we get that correct? You're talking about the way that the state sends money to school districts, and Mapledale School District, which is right next door to MPS, less than 5 miles in proximity to the closest MPS school, and they get a difference of $2.3 million more for a school of 400.
That was in 2005, 2006. And with that $2 million, I can imagine what we would do in Milwaukee. We could give students in Milwaukee more teachers. We could give them music. We could give them art. We could give them physical education. We could give them so many more things with that money. We could lower the class size. We could hire the special education teachers that we so desperately need and that those children deserve. I mean, to me, that is the #1 problem. And the school board is on the record supporting reform the state system of funding education. We've been on the record, we've worked with school districts around the state to move to an adequacy model of funding education rather than the equalization model, which has failed for districts around the state all these years. That's the #1 issue. I mean, that is the #1 issue. If we had that money, the way that this board manages the money, we will continue. We will work more miracles. We already work them every day. Our teachers do. I thank our teacher corps for everything they do for our students. But we could do so much more. So the mayoral takeover is really nothing but a distraction from the major issue, and that is inequality. And we need to change the status quo. But the status quo is not the school board. The status quo is inequality and underfunding education. There is no more important investment for our children. But to talk about, just for a moment, the specifics of the plans that are ahead. The Public Policy Forum did a study of mayoral control in districts around the country. And the thing that alarmed me in that study, and this has not been talked about by the Journal Sentinel or by anybody, but the thing that alarmed me is in swing states, once the state changes governance, they keep doing it. They keep changing the governance so that the students in like Detroit schools or St. Louis schools or Washington, D.C. school, which is Washington is controlled by Congress, they just become pawns in the state's political game. And that is the thing that alarms me. If this were a once for all, okay, this bill is going to be it and there will be no other, that would be one thing. But believe me, the Republicans have a plan. It has many good elements, but it's their plan. And when they get power, they're going to enact it. Make no mistake. And then when you get a different governor, different mayor, their relationship doesn't even have to be a cross-party thing. That relationship may determine changes. Detroit, the last 10 years, the legislature's changed it 3 times. Governance. The legislature has met to change Detroit's governance 3 times in the last 10 years. Washington, D.C., Congress has changed governance of Washington schools 5 times in 10 years. And I want to know, what kind of strategic plan can you have? What kind of forward-thinking movement can you have when you're changing governance that many times? Please do not make the students in Milwaukee the pawns of state politics. It's not fair to them. It's simply not fair. That's the biggest alarm that I've had. I've also been dismayed by the inaccurate reporting, the Journal Sentinel among them, about, for example, school board elections and turnout. About half the people that voted in the mayor's election voted for the school board election in my district. But they didn't report that in the Journal Sentinel. What they reported was they took the whole city, eligible voters, and said, wow, about half the people who vote in the state superintendent are voting in the school board elections. Well, Milwaukee's divided into 8 districts and only 4 districts are up at a time. Of course you have half the voters because only half the voters can vote. It would be just as accurate or just as true for me to say nobody voted in the mayor's election last spring and nobody did. There wasn't an election. And there wasn't an election in 4 of the districts in Milwaukee. So to say that, oh, well, you know, people just don't care to vote is dishonest. But I don't think the mayor should be proud of a 27% turnout for the mayor election. For the presidential election, there was 80% turnout. Over 80% of eligible Milwaukeeans voted in the presidential election, and 27% voted for the mayor. That's not a very good number, in my mind. In fact, if you look at the amount of money that was spent by campaigns, if you also took into account the number of articles in the newspaper, the Milwaukee school board race represents a beacon of democracy because we got more votes for less money and less coverage. The Milwaukee Labor Press had more articles about the school board election than the Journal Sentinel. The Milwaukee Shepherd, which is Shepherd Express, had more articles about the school board race than the Journal Sentinel. So for the Journal Sentinel, which had 1 article on each district in Milwaukee for the school board race, to talk about the low turnout is disingenuous at best, but cynical, I think. I mean, the presidential election, there were front page stories every day. And we would welcome that kind of attention for school board issues because it is urgent. But if I could talk about the urgency issue for just a second, there is nobody more focused urgently on the needs of our students than this particular school board. And I don't agree with all the school board members all the time, but I can tell you one thing. We are dedicated to making sure that we provide within our means the best education we can for every student in Milwaukee. What we need and what the governor and the mayor and the state superintendent could really help us do is to change the way we educate children in America. Because from Milwaukee to River Falls, from Milwaukee to Platteville, from Milwaukee to Green Bay, we are not educating critical thinking, risk-taking young people. The people who are going to need to face, who answer difficult challenges. Well, that's what we need to do. Number one, we need to look at the challenges our students face and design an education program that's going to help them meet those challenges. Number two, we need to look at the science, look at how the brain capacity develops, and design an educational program that takes that into account. If students should be learning music, should be learning a foreign language, because that enhances brain capacity development, we should design a system that focuses on that. And right now, we're not doing it. We're talking about things that are not going to help us prepare a generation of leaders who are going to lead us forward, meet the challenges that face these children when they get to be adults. The governor and the mayor could help us do that. Where have they been? We need their help. We've been asking for their help.
Well, we thank you for your time, and as always, the energy and the passion and the love that you have for our children continues to show, and keep up the good work for us, Director Blewett.
Well, thank you. As long as I'm there, I'm going to be voting my conscience.
We'll return you there again on your next round.
Thank you.